Good morning. I thought I'd relate a story I heard from a friend of mine. He was a doctor. He's an ex-doctor now. And just to give him a little background, he had a taste for opioids, unfortunately, and when his the scripts he was writing didn't match up with his stock, I eventually caught up with him and seized his medical license. So he's not a doctor anymore, but he'd been a doctor for many years and had made some money doing it. So I mean, he was all set anyway. In any case, he lived down here in southern Florida, where we do now, and he told me a story about something that happened to him one night when he was sitting in his den, going through his patient charts. There were things he had coming up the next day, or cases he had dealt with during the day that he wanted to make notes on. And he was sitting there, and as is the case down here in Florida, um, we have beautiful weather down here, and during the winter, particularly in January and February, when it's cold and snowy and just awful up north, it'll be in the 70s down here. And so he was in his den, and he had the window cracked open, and it was late at night, and he had a small table lamp on the corner of his desk, and he was writing on his charts, and he heard the sound of wings. And as is the case with some of the older homes down here in Florida, there actually are no screens on the window, and his didn't have a screen. So he hears these wings, and in comes a moth, a large moth. He didn't know what kind of moth it was. We have all sorts of insects down here in southern Florida that get big because there's no frost. The frost don't kill moths, so they get big. So he didn't know what kind of moth it was, but it flew in through his window and proceeded to sit on the corner of his desk. And he looked over at it, and it looked at him, and he kind of made these, shooing motions and shh, go away. But the moth was adamant about standing its ground, and it just sort of sat there and looked at him. And he tried to continue focusing on the chart, but every time he looked up, he saw this moth on the edge of his desk just sort of appeared to be just staring at him, waiting for something. So eventually he got more and more exasperated and couldn't concentrate. So he just looked at the moth and he said, "Okay, what do you want? What can I do for you?" And much to his surprise, and again, perhaps it was the effect of the opioids, but anyway, the moth starts talking to him. And the moth says, "Well," he says, "I'm not enjoying my life very much." He says, "All day long, I sleep in the attic of your home to avoid the predators out there." He says, "I don't take any joy in my life. I leave at night and I fly around aimlessly. I don't really understand what my purpose is here. I don't eat. I don't enjoy food. I don't drink. I try to reach out to my fellow moths, but for whatever reason, they don't let me approach them. They leave when I approach. I feel like I'm living my life all by myself," he says, and the depression that it causes me to be living this life without purpose by myself is some days more than I can tolerate. And I think about ways of ending my life, and I think about what there is after life, and I'm worried that there's nothing, that there's an empty black void. And I think that's the only thing that prevents me from actually killing myself. And my friend stepped back for a second, and he said, "Wow," he said, "you've got a lot, you got a lot going on there." He said, "You could really benefit from some solid psychological help, some therapy, maybe even some medications to help you with this." And the moth said, yes, I know that. I've thought about that." And the doctor said, "Well," he said, "why'd you come to see me?" He said, "I'm a general practitioner. I can't really help you with that." And the moth said, "Yes, I know that as well." And so my friend said, "Well, why did you come in here?" And the moth paused for a second, and he said, "Well, your light was on." Yeah, the light was on.